old people called it the crazy dance. It stepped away from tradition and in a new direction. A few young men invented a new style where each person created his own way. The fancy dance is now the symbol of the contemporary powwow, a swirl of feathers and color, powerful music and spirited moves. It's the fastest and the flashiest, the 100-yard dash of the Native American dance world. It is a young man's dance that old men still remember.
I try to fly.
This program was taped in Oklahoma, where the fancy dance began in the 1920s and continues to flourish. After World War II, fancy dancing spread from Oklahoma to the northern tribes. Now you can see top fancy dance competition at big powwows throughout North America. Today, the fancy dance belongs to all of Indian country. This program honors the constantly changing spirit of this dance. We'll hear the history from some of the dancers who were there at its beginnings, learn about what a dancer wears and how it reflects the past and recognizes the latest fad. You'll hear the music that's made the fancy dance what it is. See dancers of all ages try out their moves and enjoy spectacular dancing at the World Championship competition at Ponca Powwow. It's contest time. The fancy dance began in the early 1920s when a group of young Ponca men wanted to do things their way. It's generally agreed that Gus McDonald, Dennis Roughface, and Henry Snake created a new, exuberant, and youthful style of dance. Paul Littlevoice Ponca was part of this 1942 photo that includes these pioneers.
And that's me.
He was in awe of Gus's dancing skill.
And it was world champion. He's just like a rubber, that guy. He just moves so. If you was to dance back of him, you can make that buster, it seems like you make that buster go round and round on it. Yeah, that's just the way he moves. A lot of these guys, it's stiff. You know, but this guy, he's just so limber, just, you can't believe it, the way he moves around. You know. He makes it so easy, just. And that's got, we're trying and we're puffing away too. And they start getting fancy. And my people call that a crazy dance in Ponca words. Galoni. Crazy. That's what they say they call it.
Jewel McDonald, Gus's sister, remembers the early days.
He did so many things that was unusual, because a lot of times whenever they were having a contest or just a regular powwow, when he'd come in, well, he'd give those 4 hoops. You know, he'd just hoop about 4 times, and he'd just come springing in, cartwheeling in, you know, and stand up and do the splits and then stand up and start dancing.
This new style of dance also fit the theatrical and flamboyant atmosphere of the Wild West show. The fast footwork mimicked other popular dances of the time, such as the Charleston. Many young men of Gus and Paul's generation were unsatisfied with the slower, older, and ceremonial style of men's dancing. This older style is known as straight dancing. Its smooth, gentlemanly pace still contrasts sharply with the quick, high spirits of the fancy dance. These young men in the 1920s did as young people often do, and broke with tradition, entering the arena with new steps and a different style of dress. Charles Chibetty Comanche knew some of the earliest fancy dancers and started fancy dancing as a very young boy in the late 1920s.
When we was little, just beginning to walk, that's all we done at home. And then wintertime, when it's so cold to go out, back there, wood stoves and everything, Daddy used to sing for us. I remember I was little. We danced, nothing clothes on, we danced in the room. And to make it a little interesting, he would get a match, break it in half, stick it in the crack of the floor, and he would start singing. Then we would go down dancing and pick it up with our master. When I first remember contesting was at Cradle Park. At that time, regardless of how big you are, they didn't have no juniors or anything like it they have now. And then the dance man part, then they would come and put a hat over you. And then they always applause as usually. They didn't have all these judges and everything. The prize money was practically nothing. And then at one time at Crittaville, I was just about 8 years old. And I guess I was a little bit smaller than Buster Parker. He's still living. Henry Lookingglass, he's gone. He got third, Buster Parker got second, and I got first. Because I was a little smaller than they was. I got more hand than the rest of them.
All right.
First, I think I got $5 or $6 for getting first. But I had ice cream and snow cones. My daddy was walking me around. The song we used to dance by, it gives you the time to move your body, your head, the whole, go down and come up and still be keeping time with the drum. Nowadays, boy, they just go like the devil and spin round and round and round. And they got all these other deals on them that make them look like they're really going. I mean, this is the way we used to dress in one bustle or two bustles, whatever. And then when they medium good songs, like those what they call it, homo songs, they got some beautiful songs that could really make you dance. And they give you time to move your body, your head, and go down and really enjoy it instead of have to really work your legs real fast and put speed in it, spinning around or doing. That's the only difference in my type of dancing many years ago than today, you know. It's just like everything. It's modern now, and you have to go with it.
Charles's brother, Wuji Watchataker, was another world champion fancy dancer.
Began to meet these good dancers and it inspired me to keep it going. And I began to work on my costume, a little more elaborate, Times change, every 10 years I see new, different costume, and I just put mine.
By the late 1920s, fancy dancing had caught on with many tribes, including this group of Pawnee. Today, the fancy dance is a man style, but it wasn't always that way. From the 1940s into the 1970s, women also dressed in fancy dance regalia and competed with men. Here's a photo from the late 60s of the winners of the Tulsa Powwow contest with a young woman coming in third. Nowadays, most young women have chosen the northern fancy shawl style as the faster and more athletic style of women's dance. In the modern powwow, the fancy dance contests are usually held last on the program and draw big crowds. Men compete in junior, men's, and golden age groups. Gradually, the music and steps have gotten faster, the movements more acrobatic, the prize money is bigger, and the regalia continues to be showy and ornate. The fancy dance is always changing. Since the 1920s, the fancy dance outfit has never stayed the same. Styles come and go, and each dancer shows his own individual touch in his regalia. Pete Moore Jr. comes from a long line of dancers and continues his family's dance company, the Brave Scout Indian Dance Troupe. When he dresses for a competition at a powwow, his outfit echoes the past as well as expressing the innovations of the latest fads and materials. His outfit also represents hundreds of hours of craft work by Pete and his family, all done by hand. Moccasins have always been a part of Native American dancing. Pete begins by putting on a pair of plain-style hard-sole moccasins. The orange, blue, and white colors in the beadwork will be carried out in all of his regalia. Contesting is hard on moccasins. A fancy dancer who's competing regularly might go through several pairs of summer. Cotton socks are for comfort and to prevent blisters. Next come the anklets, also called goats, because they're made of Angora goat hide. Long ago, they may have represented an animal guide or spirit. The first fancy dancers didn't wear fur anklets, and later outfits had relatively small goats, starting at mid-calf rather than just below the knee. Many dancers still tape the goats around their leg, but Pete has updated his set with Velcro. The canvas backing protects the goat hair from perspiration. Bells accentuate the rhythm of the dancer. Pete makes sure these sets of sheep bells are tied on very tightly. If an article of regalia comes loose during the dance, the dancer is automatically disqualified. Early fancy dancers wore long strings of the larger round sleigh bells attached to leather straps. By the 1940s, bells of both types were tied around the knee. Fancy dance regalia has evolved from the older Omaha-style dance outfit. Parts of the headgear and the feather bustle were badges of rank and honor in earlier Plains warrior societies. The right to wear them had to be earned. As times changed and the warrior societies faded, parts of these outfits were taken up by many dancers as an expression of the dance and of their Indian identity. The aprons in a back and front section are tied around the waist. The first fancy dancers wore a broadcloth apron with a floral beaded design over long johns or black tights. Pete ties on the beaded side tabs, also called side drops. It's one of the many pieces of matching beadwork in his outfit. Pete's side tabs are shorter than normal to stay free of the bells as he dances. Notice Pete's last name beaded into the design. His belt is a wide, loom-beaded strip mounted on leather. Some dancers' belts are buckled. Pete's is held together by laces. Pete ties it snugly in back. This is Pete's uncle, Ted Moore, in the 1940s. His belt is adapted from a bandolier bag strip. Next is a cape with applique design work and the long ribbon fringe that is fashionable today. Fancy dancers first wore small vests, then short capes, and later danced bare-chested. Ribbon shirts caught on for a while. Longer capes became popular again in the early 1970s. The harness hangs around the neck and is held in place with the loops on the belt. The first harnesses were adapted from Plains Indian legging strips that were shorter and narrower. Blanket strips were also used. In the 1950s, dancers wore a cloth harness and belt combination called galluses, a rural Oklahoma word for suspenders. The beaded medallion necklace repeats the blue 8-point star design in Pete's outfit. Most fancy dancers don't wear a necklace, especially one this big. It's one of the ways that Pete shows his individuality. The cuffs represent the gauntlet-style glove cavalry officers wore. Pete has made his larger than normal, saying that he wants to make sure everybody sees them when he dances. To make it easy to replace the ribbon fringe if it gets dirty, Pete attaches it along a Velcro strip. Next, wristbands, the absorbent kind that tennis players use. These make it easier to grip the dance sticks. The bands also provide a place to securely pin down the cuffs. He begins to unwrap a modern dancer's headdress, called a roach. It's made of deer hair and the long guard hair of a porcupine sewn to a yarn base. It was traditionally worn by warriors. A spreader keeps the roach spread out correctly. A long shoestring holds it in place. 2 eagle feathers are attached to a rocker that moves back and forth like a teeter-totter. A good dancer keeps the feathers rocking in time with the drum. The early fancy dancers wore a simple hair roach, but soon started adding more feathers around the base. This was often tied over a felt skull cap that became more and more decorated. Eventually, an even more ornate style of headdress developed known as a feather crest. By the late 1950s, the hair roach started coming back into style. Pete pins down his entry number so the contest judges can see it easily. Now for the feathers. Arrangements of feathers are called bustles. The fancy dance bustle has evolved from the older Omaha style. The older bustle was worn at the hip and consisted of 2 long decorated spikes, a semicircle of feathers, and cloth trailers. The first fancy dancers took this tradition and made it more colorful and showy. They wore small circular bustles on their back, neck, forehead, upper arms, and even hands. They also added colored plumes at the ends of the feathers.
One time, I saw Chester Left-Hand at the Arapaho band. He had bustles about that big, just above his ankles over there. And he would come scooping in, shuffling in, and then looked like wheels coming in.
Pete's circular arm bustles are held on with laces. The short, fluffy feathers are called hackles. These bright-colored hackles, dyed in hot colors, are available from Indian craft stores. Rudy Newmoon, a Ponca, shown in this 1950s photo, was the first to use hackles on his headdress and bustles. The neck bustle Pete wears fans out in an oval shape from a plywood base. It's made up of long wingtip feathers called spikes, and hackles dyed to match the rest of the outfit. It's trimmed out with long ribbons or surveyor's flagging tape for more eye appeal. It's tied in place by a neck strap. It also laces under the shoulders, tied at the chest. After World War II, many of the dancers wore swing bustles made from a pair of eagle wings. Black and white eagle tail feather bustles were also popular. Today, bustles made from eagle wings are making a comeback. The back bustle is tied at the hips and matches the neck bustle. A beaded headband with side drops and a beaded medallion ties on with a lace. Now for the crowning touch. Pete ties on the roach with the rocker spreader. Pete carries a mirror board and whip sticks when dancing. And if during all this you've been wondering what he does with his truck keys, as the fancy dance caught on, head singers began to sing special music for the dance competition. Oliver Littlecook of the Ponca and Oto tribes is a respected head singer who has encouraged many younger people to sing around the drum. He is the founder of the well-known drum group Yellow Spotted Horse.
The songs that we use nowadays for fancy dance, wasn't really a contest,
Yeah.
Doing our Ponca or Heloska ceremonial part, those songs represented something. But here coming down in the 20s, 30s, whenever it started having contests, we used those fast-paced songs for fancy dance to accommodate the fancy dancers. And now, the past 5-10 years, fancy dance has really evolved into a big contest, and singing has kind of, I guess you might say, we've followed that trend too. A lot of us have composed new songs to fit the category. The dancer and the singer don't really compete. What they really do is they complement each other. A good singer, a good song, a good group of singers bring out the best in the war dancer, and then vice versa. When a singer sees a dancer really getting with it, getting it on, that in turn inspires the singers to sing that much harder. There are two types of songs. One is a medium straight song, we call it. That's just with no rough voice, just a straight song. It starts off with a good medium beat. Maybe it sings about 4 times through. It has 4 starts. And then the 3rd and 4th start, the drum gets harder, then they faster, pick up a faster pace. And then your ruffle, the drum is rolled, and that gives the dancer opportunity to make the moves, make his body move and the feathers move all in one motion. Get down low. I remember a long time ago they get down on one knee on that ruffle, get down close to the ground, then as the song starts, then they rise up and just all out sprint, The singers can go fast as they want, and it's a short stop, and then it rolls over again, goes again, and then goes out again. Because of the powwows are starting to expand everywhere, in a lot of states, a lot of people, a lot of tribes, a lot of nations are having their own powwows, where that gives us the opportunity to travel. And when we go places, we see how some of them do. They maybe in their fancy dance, they make them do crow hop, that sort of stuff like that. So since a lot of Oklahoma Indians travel around northern powwows, northern people come down here, so we always look at ourselves as versatile. We're able to adapt. So to go along with today's trend, a lot of the composers, we've composed songs where we put crow hop in the middle of a contest song, a fancy dance song. We get our reward, our enjoyment by making the dancers look good, feel good, and the crowd response. That's our feeling, that's our reward we get.
Nobody dances at a championship level overnight. At first, tiny tots, up to age 5 or 6, get out in the arena just for fun. Then there's the junior division, up to about 12 years of age. Little kids learn by watching older dancers and then practicing the basic step. As their coordination and abilities develop, they begin to try out more intricate steps and moves. By the time a dancer is ready to compete against other adults, he's developed a series of moves and routines that are rehearsed, but he can vary them in a moment in competition. Here are some other fundamentals of good fancy dancing to look for. Maintaining balance, even on one foot. Coordinating head movement with the music. And champion dancers are incredibly light on their feet. Some dancers will repeat a move several times, often in a sequence of 4 moves, moving left, then right. Twisting and twirling and flashy acrobatic moves are popular and eye-catching. If you don't stop exactly at the end of a song, you're disqualified. Most fancy dancers have 2 styles, a powwow style and a contest style. During an intertribal song, a dancer is more relaxed and doesn't show his best moves. In a contest, a dancer becomes much more aggressive and athletic, with surprises and a dramatic ending. From its beginnings, the fancy dance lent itself to rivalry and competition. In 1926, a fancy dance contest was held as part of a football homecoming at Haskell Institute, an Indian school in Lawrence, Kansas. Gus McDonald won and earned the right for his tribe to host the World Championship Fancy Dance Contest each year at the Ponca Powwow. This contest still continues today. The field has been narrowed down to 2 of the best champion dancers, Pete Moore Jr. and George Alexander. To help the judges decide first place and world champion, each dancer has the rare chance to dance a solo. George wins first and is congratulated by Jewel McDonald, the sister of the first champion. As we conclude, here's some advice for young dancers. Regalia, steps, moves, and the music all play a part. But what sets apart a dancer is showmanship, the desire to be the best, and to express the excitement and dramatic power of the dance, the spirit that says, I enjoy dancing, and look at me. We hope you've enjoyed Fancy Dance. For more fine fancy dance music, we recommend the music of Yellow Spotted Horse, available from Bear Sky Limited and others. For more about the fancy dance, get The Modern Fancy Dancer, published by Crazy Crow Trading Post. For more powwow action, get Native American Dance Styles Volume 1 and 2 and Into the Circle from Full Circle Videos. For a free catalog of other Full Circle videos on Native American dance, crafts, and culture, call or write us, or visit our website at www.fullsir.com. Thanks for watching.